Welcome back to Two Brothers Comics and happy new comic book day. But even better, happy What If Wednesday. Hang around, guys, because me and the Cap are about to go through What If issue number 7, and this was a good one. All right. Like I said, it is What If Wednesday, and you guys know I've already spoke his name. I got somebody with me every week, Mr. Captain Comics. What's going on, brother?
Not much, brother. How are you?
Man, I'm tired. Been working all day long. Spent my whole lunch break kind of writing up some notes for this this book here, so I feel like I haven't taken a break all day.
Well, you know, the new books come out today, and we talk about old books, so you know it works out right.
Absolutely. And you can't get much better than these What If books, man. They are awesome stories. And the more we read, and the like I said from the beginning, a lot of this first series I have not read yet. So as we're doing these shows, they're first reads for me, and outside of maybe one or two, they have been really cool. And it's really neat because although it is a parallel universe story, you do get a lot of history on some of these older stories and the beginnings of a lot of these characters, which is what we get into in this issue. And that was really cool because I'm not ever been a really big Spider-Man reader, and when I get to him in the chat, he will see. As Comics and Death Metal knows, I give him crap all the time because he's a big Spider-Man collector, and I've never read a lot, but I did get to dig a little bit into some Amazing Fantasy 15, some ASM number 1 and number 2, so got to see some pretty cool stuff in there.
For sure.
Absolutely. Before we jump into this, let's hit the chat because we know we've got people in here hanging out right off the bat. One of the big guys in our chat here, Mr. Adrian the Panda. What's going on, man? Good to have you. One of our top-notch moderators there. We have, as always, Austin Lemmy. Man, do you miss a stream anymore? Do you miss anything we do anymore, man? Because you're always here, and we appreciate it.
I'm starting to feel jealous.
And there he is right there, the biggest Spider-Man fan I know. This guy's he's working on getting the entire run put together. We talk almost every day, and he's constantly getting these big shipments of Spider-Man books in. And I'm always like, man, why don't you buy something good? Like, come on, man, it's Spider-Man. As I'm wearing my Spider-Man shirt, right?
Right.
It's all in good fun, though. It's all in good fun. And then we have on the Facebook side, Russell Mullen. Good to see you. Hey, man, appreciate you watching on Facebook. If you want to, you can jump over to our YouTube channel and you can actually participate in that chat, and you'll see that there's a ton of comments in there that you can interact with as well. If not, man, then keep watching on Facebook, and we appreciate you there, man, because we always throw our live stream on YouTube and Facebook. So thanks for hanging out. Let's see here. Happy Wednesday. Absolutely. And he says, hello. Miss a stream, not a problem, not an option. Hey, I appreciate that, man. That's awesome. What's up? You trying to show everybody you got a better beard than me? Is that what's going on right now?
I need to take a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay, no problem. All right. So while he takes a break, how did you guys do today for New Comic Book Day? I know that there wasn't a lot of books that came out. We didn't have DC. We didn't have Marvel. But there were a few cool independents that came out. If you guys watched our top picks that we put out last week for today, that's next week. Over the Stump came out, and King of Nowhere was supposed to come out, but I heard some people say that they didn't see it in their shops. Those were two of the good ones that I'm going to pick up. All right, and we are back. Oh, here we go. We got a couple of other people. Ram Comics, Ram Tough in here. What's going on, man? And just a small extension. No. A big extension of Two Brothers Comics, Justin Birch. He is always in here with us on Saturdays. He's even jumped in on some creator spotlights with us. So definitely he is part of the crew now. Let's see. Ooh, said he got a root canal today. Yeah, you've been talking about that happening, man. I know those aren't fun. We've got Comic Crazy just popped in, picked up some eBay comics on pre-order. That count. That does count. That absolutely counts. So I think we got everybody in the chat. We appreciate you guys for hanging out, and for everybody watching on the replay, we appreciate you for watching as well. I'm really glad that we've started to see a bigger audience for this show, because we really were, when we talked about this, we thought this was just going to be a great idea. It's something no one else has been doing. And it's really a series that does not get a lot of spotlight. So Cap and I were just super pumped to be able to get on this. So hopefully you guys continue to enjoy it. And we are in episode number 7, which means we are going over issue number 7. So let's get it out of the bag and see what we got in this issue.
Or at least go check out the what ifs. You know, that's the thing too, because they have a lot of first appearances. There's a lot of, you know, you may not afford Amazing Spider-Man #1, you know, but this will give you at least a page or two from that book.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, and you're right. There are a lot of first appearances that pop up in these what ifs that sometimes they don't get counted in some books, but then other books they do get counted. So I don't know how that works. And we're going to get to that in this issue as well. But I know that the first Jane Foster as Thor was counted in a what if. The first Yellow Hulk was counted in a what if, but the first Venomized Hulk was not counted. So it's kind of a tricky game there, but you know, either way, these are always just a fun read with these parallel universes. And you may think you have an idea of what's going to happen when you look at the title and you look at that cover. I'm telling you, once you jump into them, they'll blow your mind every time.
Every time. You get a general idea, but until you actually read the story through it, understand the here, there, playing field of it.
Right. Absolutely. So let's jump into this one. So what if number 7 is, what if someone else besides Spider-Man had been bitten by the radioactive spider? And we see on that cover there that we're actually going to get 3 separate stories, one involving Flash Thompson, one involving Betty Brant, and one involving Colonel John Jameson. So these are 3 characters that I thought, okay, I can see one of these being kind of cool, but the other 2, no, they were all really, really cool and all had their own really neat spin on the whole Spider-Man character. So we start out, obviously, just like all the other what if books, where we jump straight into the canon story. So we start out with seeing how Peter Parker, he became Spider-Man, and we go through Amazing Adventures. That's the Beast. We go through Amazing Fantasy 15, and we see where he's saving the kids and you know, flying off, and he gets invited for dinner. And sorry, I can't. I got to go eat this frozen minute microwave steak. And that made me laugh. He said, you know, how am I going to eat these refried beans through the mask anyway? That would just be a mess.
All right.
And then we jump into the actual story of how Peter Parker was bitten by the spider, and he goes up and he invites Flash Thompson and all of his women. Hey, man, there's a big seminar going on. You guys want to come check it out? And of course, Flash Thompson's just, you know, he is your absolutely stereotypical jock, bully, whatever you want to call him. And, you know, showing off for the girls, like, no way, dude. You really think I'm going to waste my time going to that nerdy science stuff? Look at these chicks I'm with. I got better things to do. And Peter Parker shows up, and he gets bit by a spider that got hit by some radioactive waves from this machine they were showing off. And that kind of ends the canon part there.
Yeah. Good old Spider-Man. We all know that story.
Right.
Spider.
And then pops in Captain Comics' favorite character in these what if stories. We see the Watcher. Cap, what does the Watcher look like this week?
Oh. Looks like he's holding a coat in one hand on the first page, like he's holding this coat, you know. the other hand, his cape's all free willing in the wind, and then he's holding half of it. You know, I'm like, be a superhero. What your whole cape fly in the wind?
Right.
I only want half of my cape flowing. You know.
Yeah, he's always different, and we mention that every week how the Watcher's always got a different appearance in every one of these issues. Sometimes from panel to panel, the guy looks completely different. So it's just it's
One scene, next scene, he has no eyeballs, huge
right.
forehead, got muscles the size of jabroni on here on one scene. You know?
Absolutely, it's always something different. And so we know when the Watcher comes in, that's whenever we move to the parallel universe. So we move into the what if part of this story. Now, the first part we're going to jump into is this is going to be the Flash Thompson becomes Spider-Man. So we pick up where Peter Parker invited Flash Thompson to come to the seminar, and he tells him, no, I'm too cool for that. Not happening. So Peter Parker goes to the seminar. Well, all of a sudden, once it gets started, Flash Thompson comes busting in. Hey, man, I'm up front. Let me get in here. And he's like, I thought you didn't want to come, Flash. He's like, hey, I got 2 dates, man. I'm going to take advantage of being able to have 2 dates anywhere. So, this is the only thing going on right now, I guess. So Flash just decided, hey, you know what? Let's go, girls. And so he takes them up there. And as he's rushing himself to the front, he obviously throws himself into being the person closest to the spider, and he gets bitten. And at first he starts to feel weird inside. And the girls are like, oh, Flash, are you okay? Are you okay? Of course, he's got to be a tough guy. And he's like, yeah, ladies, I'm fine. No problem. He's like, this air in here sucks. Let's go outside, though. And so they go outside, and then he starts to not feel weird anymore. Now he starts to feel really, really good, like feels better than he's ever felt in his life. And here comes a car rushing at them, just like in the cannon part, except here, Flash, instead of doing like Peter did and jumping onto the wall and kind of hiding himself and getting out of the way, no. Flash Thompson is they don't call him Flash Thompson for no reason. He is a flashy dude. Excuse me. He has to throw the car out of the way and grab the girls and, oh my gosh, what is this guy doing? And blah, blah, blah. And so he kind of takes a different approach than Peter Parker would have taken, because Flash, instead of avoiding conflict and wanting to kind of hide what's going on, he walks up, yanks the guy out of the car, and starts threatening to beat him within an inch of his life. And that
my picture looks like he just went right through the windshield or window, without even breaking the window. He just arms right through the window.
Right, absolutely. Now, something I wanted to bring up here, we always talk about how funny some of these comics are with the way the illustrations are done. Now, if you look in that top panel there, where he's got the 2 girls standing behind him with the car coming by, you see the one girl in the blue dress and the one girl in the yellow dress.
Mm-hmm.
So explain to me why the girl he threw out of the way is in a green dress, lime green dress. Did they run out of yellow ink or something? I just thought that was funny. The more you start pointing out some of this stuff week to week, I start seeing it too, and it just makes me laugh, and it's just humorous. But the artwork in this one was actually really good, I thought, compared to some of the stuff we've seen in the past.
Oh yeah,
it's been pretty good. So,
the faces are still all right, but some of them are like distracted, or like the eyes are just a slit and that's it. No detail or nothing to it. And then the next panel, she's got big old eyes,
Right.
Next panel, she has slit eyes,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, there's at the same time, I will say too, with these comics in this era, if you put it side by side to a modern day comic, the amount of words and word bubbles page to page in this series compared to something new is way different. There is 3 to 4 times as many word bubbles in this book here than anything that came out this week. And not only that, this is a 45-page book. So I feel like they did have a lot more that they were putting into these books as far as panels and word bubbles. But I think nowadays they're able to do a lot more talking with the art than they did back then as well. So they don't I guess have the need to, or feel the need to put as many words in, because you have to kind of read the characters a little bit too. So it's just different. It's just changing over the years how this stuff works. So
Well, and back in them days, they wanted to make sure that you knew who Spider-Man was, what his powers was, who his relatives were.
right,
This is why he was this way. In every book, they make sure that they tell it. Back in the old days, now we all know the basic story of it.
right,
The Hulk.
right.
We all know the story of the Hulk. That's a lot of, and I think that's why they change it nowadays with the Immortal Hulk. With more, it's not really more words, it's more action scene, or
Yeah.
a look more than what they did back in them days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can kind of see where, if they were to, it's kind of like in the movies, a lot of people are tired of seeing in every single Spider-Man movie, we don't have to know Peter Parker got bit by the spider, and we don't have to know that Uncle Ben died, just like in the Superman movies. We don't have to know the origin story behind Superman. And then we don't have to know that Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered in an alley, because everybody knows that. So I think a lot of people kind of feel the same way when it comes to stuff like that too. So, just we always had to keep in mind that these books are from the 70s, and they were actually not, like you've pointed out many times, they didn't come out too far from these big keys they're talking about. So,
Right. But then 10 or 15 years from them keys.
Right. Absolutely. So back into the story, Flash lets the guy go. He runs off, and the girls are immediately questioning, like, "Hey, you just knocked that car out of the way. How'd you do that?" And he just kind of, at this point, decides to play dumb and keep his newfound abilities quiet. He's like, "Oh, well, it's kind of like you hear on the news all the time, people running on adrenaline lift cars up." It was basically that kind of thing. And they were like, "Well, you don't have to tell us Flash has got the muscles and all that stuff. We already knew that."
That guy's like, "This is the last time I have a drink at my cocktail party."
Right.
So
Right.
we all go to cocktail parties every day.
Yeah. And then we move into my favorite part of this story, where and I thought it was perfect that they used this storyline for Flash. I thought it really matched up well with his character and his personality to have Flash Thompson walk up on this open invite wrestling challenge. And he's not fighting Bonesaw. There's no Macho Man. He's going to be going up against Crusher Hogan. And this issue, the canon issue, is the first appearance of Crusher Hogan. So if you don't have that issue, I think it might be is that Amazing Fantasy? It's either, I think it is Amazing Fantasy 15. So if you want that first appearance of Crusher Hogan, guys, you better go grab that Amazing Fantasy 15. Do not let Spider-Man overshadow that first appearance.
For sure.
So, he kind of, at this point, he's kind of watching, and he's like, "You know what? Hey, I can take this chump on. You want to let me get in the ring and get a chance at that $100? I can take you, no problem." And of course, Crusher Hogan's like, "You little twerp, you're like a quarter of my size. You come on in here. That's fine. I'll try not to be too rough on you." And then he kind of, at the side of his mouth, like, "I didn't say how hard I'd try, though."
Right.
So immediately, ding, ding, the bell rings. Flash Thompson's got this dude up over his head. This guy is humongous. And Flash is, at this point, Flash has done took the shirt off. He's got the muscles showing, lifting this guy up over his head. And then he throws him in a chokehold, a headlock from the back. He's got this dude, he's got it wrenched in. And the guy's sitting there, and Flash is just smack talking to him the whole time. And he's like, "Man, I can't hear you when you're gargling like that." And then all of a sudden, the guy goes limp. Hogan goes completely limp. And guess what? Flash has killed this guy dead smack in the middle of the ring. So if we look back at the canon, when Peter Parker jumped in to the ring with Crusher Hogan, Peter Parker used his speed and agility to kind of evade Hogan, and he didn't try to hurt him, or he was kind of more trying to stay out of the way, and then he just kind of grabbed him up, and you never really saw the end of the fight there in that comic. But he went about it a completely different approach here, where Flash just jumps in there and is like, no, I know I'm stronger than this guy, and just cracks the dude's neck right there.
I know.
And just kills him right in the middle of the ring. And then he's just astonished. Oh my gosh, I just killed this guy. So of course, after that happens, now they're going to call the police. So the police show up. Mr. Flash, we need you to put your arms behind your back, please. And they start reading him his rights. And he's like, oh no, you guys can't hold me, and I'll be dadgum if you're going to arrest me. And just breaks away from him, jumps out the window, and starts shooting up the wall. And it says in here that it was just, he naturally just climbed the wall. It was just like it was a second reaction. Like he didn't even have to think about it. He just did it. And the cops are looking for him, and they didn't look up, so they never saw that Flash was climbing up the wall there.
But he knocked out 2 cops. Just whack, whack. Just
right.
Like nothing.
So now he's killed a guy, and he's assaulted 2 police officers all in about 5 minutes.
That's pretty good to have your powers.
So obviously that makes him, and it even says here, at this point he is he's definitely someone on the run. And what was the words he used? A fugitive for evading the police and manslaughter. So he decides, you know what? I should use these powers for good. I could be one of those superhero guys that I've seen in comic books. And I love how they refer to comic books so many times in this book. I know I noticed it at least once in each one of these 3 stories. They referred to comic books. So that was great. So Flash goes.
That's the original story of Spider-Man 2 was comic books. It didn't come out movies or
right.
Any animated series in that age.
Absolutely.
So your only heroes came out in comic books.
Yeah. And so Flash decides, you know what? I need a costume though. I need something to cover my face and hide my face so that they won't know who I am and be able to find me and arrest me, which is, completely opposite reason of why Peter Parker covered his face and wore the mask, which was to keep his family and friends safe. So you see the parallels, and you see the massive differences between the 2 characters. You really see that when you see Flash Thompson has broke into a costume shop and what he has put together for himself. Oh my gosh, at this dude's costume. I mean, he has a cape, a full cape going on here. He's got like, I'll just show it to you. Here you go. He has half of his face covered. He's got great hair, so he's got to show that off. Can't have that hanging out.
And his cape reminds me of something that would be on like Spider-Woman or something along that lines,
Right, absolutely. So, he Flash is flashy. We've already said that. So, of course, his spider suit is going to fit that as well. We see he takes out the Chameleon here and the Tinkerer, the terrible Tinkerer, which we see both of those guys early on in the Amazing Spider-Man series, I believe in issue number 2. And then we also jump into another part of issue number 2 and the first appearance of one of the big Spider-Man villains, the Vulture. And this story goes a lot different than the way it did when Peter Parker met with the Vulture in multiple ways. Flash catches these guys and they're in an alley, and he beats them up because they were trying to steal this artifact. The Vulture swoops in and he's like, "Are these guys with you?" And he said, "Nope, but I'm glad you knocked them out so I don't have to. Thank you for this artifact. I'm about to be out later." So he flies off, and Flash is just completely, enamored with this, and just first instinct, grab a hold of this guy that's just flying off into the sky. And we have
what did Flash call himself?
Oh, what did he call himself? Did I write it down? I did not. What did he call himself?
Captain Spider.
Yeah, Captain Spider. That's right. That's right. I did have it right there. Captain Spider is born with a flashy costume, including a cape. So I had my notes covered up, so I didn't see that part. Yeah, Captain Spider. What?
Well, I know. I was like, never, like, he's not associated with Captain at all.
Yeah.
Anything.
What are
Never
you
was
the captain of?
right.
You're not the captain of America. You're not the captain of comics. Like, what? Come on, man.
Captain Spider, does he just call in all the spiders, kind of like Ant-Man? Or, I was a little, where
Yeah.
did you come up with Captain Spider? I could
Right.
see Flash Spider or Spider Flash or, something goes with Flashy or Flashy Spider, something
Yeah. Spider
that would be
Flash.
more him.
Yeah, so you'll see that too, guys, where each one of these characters that dons the spider bite, they also have a different name, and some of them are very interesting. I cannot wait till we get to the last one. That is the worst one, absolutely by far as the names go. Um, so Flash Thompson grabs a hold of the vulture, and the vulture is flying higher and higher and higher, and Flash kind of looks down and is like, this is kind of high. I don't even know that I could survive this fall. I need to do something. So he starts throwing punches, and the vulture's dodging them and moving out of the way. And he's like, no, like, I've got to stop this. It's got to, I can't let this guy keep carrying me up. He takes one swing after he grabs the vulture, and the vulture just comes over with a right hook with that artifact that they stole, knocks Flash off of him. And then what happens next? Well, the Flash starts to fall. Now, if you guys don't remember, we never got to the part where Flash Thompson goes home in his secret laboratory in his bedroom and builds web throwers or web slingers, web shooters. He didn't do that because he's Flash Thompson. He does not have that Peter Parker brain. So he has been
fly with,
right, the cape with the holes in it from being the spider
right.
web. So yeah, so I mean, he has up to this point relied on nothing but pure brute strength and power to get him along as a superhero. And now he's gotten himself into something he is not prepared for. So he falls and falls and falls. And yeah, he hits the ground. And guess who finds him? Peter Parker. And Peter Parker finds him, and he's trying to do what he can. He pulls his mask off. He notices that who it is. And he kind of lets go of the fact that this is a guy that's bullied him and picked on him forever, and it recognizes the fact that a hero that he has admired up to this point so much is now dead. So in the first what if part of this story, in the first parallel universe, we end up with no Spider-Man. Why? Because Flash Thompson relied on brute strength and just absolute, his power to get him by, and that just wasn't enough to keep Spider-Man alive. He didn't have the brains to make sure that he was prepared for all these situations he was going to put himself in. So, Flash Thompson is out. He's dead.
Crying for him.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. Now, if you go back and read in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 2, the narrative between Peter Parker and the Vulture when they're in the air, and the narrative between Flash Thompson and the Vulture when they're in the air is actually swapped. Where in this what if story, everything the Vulture says to Flash Thompson is actually the narrative from Peter Parker to the Vulture in Amazing Spider-Man issue number 2. So I thought that was really cool that they did that, where Spider-Man's telling him, the air is my territory. I'm built for this. I'm made for this. And as he throws him off, Peter Parker's or however you say it. I know somebody in the chat's going to say I used the wrong sound effect, but Flash Thompson, of course, that wouldn't work. So they just flip-flop the narrative there. The Vulture tells him, I'm built for this, for the air and being, flying. This is my thing. So that was something I picked up on as well that I thought was really, really cool. And with Flash being dead here, that wraps up that part, and we get Cap's favorite character again in the Watcher, and he is back looking jacked and stacked at the very last panel of that part.
Like your brother in this one. Put a pair of glasses on it. It's Nick.
Oh man. Yep, there it is. There it is. I see you guys. Thwip, 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 thwip. Sorry. Hey. My bad. My bad. So now we move into the next character who is bitten by the radioactive spider, and this is going to be Betty Brant. And this is an interesting story as well. Betty Brant is the secretary to J. Jonah Jameson, and we all know JJ's very special relationship that he has with Spider-Man as his #1 biggest fan. And so now, instead of Flash Thompson showing up at this seminar, JJ and Betty are there because JJ needs to get all he can in an article for his paper for the Daily Bugle. Now, of course, he's not here. Go ahead, Chris. I dare you. I'll go get Bearded Comic Bro to handle you, bro. So JJ, of course, JJ's not going to do any of this work himself, so he leaves it all on Betty. Hey, you need to come on. Let's get up here in the front so you can take notes. You need to take notes faster and make sure this is ready for me to put in the Bugle tomorrow. So as he's, rushing to the front, pushing through the people, and he throws her in the front, and now we know the closest person to the spider when that radioactive wave hits the spider is the one to get bit. And she bumps into Peter Parker, and that means Peter's not getting bit now because she has interfered, and now Betty has been bitten by the spider. I'm sorry, these comments. Oh my gosh.
I'm glad I can see them.
So Peter is immediately, trying to tend to Betty and see if she's okay, but he did not forget to, once again, just like in the first part with Flash, he picks up the spider and I don't know, he puts it in his pocket or something. He's like, I'm gonna be able to check this out later. And
I'm gonna collect spiders.
Right. So he's trying to see if she's okay and make sure she's all right. And of course she just basically faints. And, JJ is just all he's worried about is getting his story for the Bugle. So he's like, hey, what are you doing? You need to get back to, get back over here and get, start writing. And Peter's like, hey, surely you're going to let her have a break here, right? Let her take the day off. And he's kind of looking around. People are kind of looking at him like, yeah, JJ, what are you going to do here? So against his better judgment, he allows her, yeah, take the rest of the day off. It's all good, Miss Brant, whatever you need to do. So Peter tells her, hey, let's go grab some coffee. I'd like to kind of talk to you a little bit. And so they're sitting at a restaurant. And Peter takes her to get the coffee. And he starts basically talking about JJ as a boss. And we know JJ is just a very loving, very, caring person, a wonderful individual, kind of like Chris, Chaos in Comics, just one of those people you love to be around, very uplifting people, always friendly to you and always on your side about everything. So she obviously just kind of goes off the rails about JJ and gets really upset. And she just, he's so this and that, and bumps her fist on the table and just smashes the table in half. And of course,
please.
What's that?
I said, check, please.
Yeah. So, she's kind of freaked out by this at this point. And then other people around start to kind of look over and like, what's going on here? So Peter starts to rush her out. Now, before we get to that part, I did want to bring up here, if you look at the third panel on page 22 here, someone says, man, did you see that? That chick must have been one of them karate experts. And that just cracked me up because they were just like, she just karate chopped the table in half. So that cracked me up there. It's fun to see some of this humor that they used back then. And Peter's like, come on, we got to get out of here before people start asking questions. And so the owner obviously stops them and is like, what's going on here? You guys got to pay for that. These tables aren't cheap. And Peter Parker's like, hey, you know what, man? We're with the Daily Bugle. This is all a publicity stunt. You put that on J. Jonah Jameson's tab. Let him take care of that, and everything's going to be all right. And the guy's like, oh, J. Jonah Jameson? Okay. Yeah, no problem. I got it. All right. Because JJ means something in that town.
Right. And he'll pay all his bills, right?
Right. So they decide to get out of there before the guy actually calls JJ and anything else happens. And Peter's kind of talking to her, and he's like, what was going on there? I've kind of got some theories I'd love to test out on what's happening to you if you were up for it. So Betty and Peter go back to Betty's apartment, and the next page you see her running through a series of tests that Peter is having her do. She's lifting up a couch, she's jumping onto the walls, and showing her quick abilities, or quick agility abilities, and the fact that she's able to stick to walls, pick up couches, and do all this stuff. And Peter's like, you really kind of seem to have similar characteristics of a spider. That's it. That spider must have been hit with some kind of radioactive waves off the device right before it bit you. And now you have all of the abilities of a spider.
I like his creepy face, though. That big face he has, just like staring.
This one here?
No. 23.
Oh, where he's watching her do all the stuff.
Right, in a pink leotard, just all. What abilities you have, girl?
Yeah. Like I said, like we said, some of the facial expressions and stuff they're pretty funny here. So now Peter has decided, you know what? We may have something here. You could really be one of those superhero people, and that could really work out for us. And she's like, me, a superheroine? Are you serious? And he's like, yeah, think about it, all the good you could do, and think about all the money we could make if I'm taking pictures of you for the Bugle. We could make a fortune with this. So now Peter's kind of like throwing himself in there, like, hey, you do all the work, I'll take the pictures, and we can make some money at this. So they actually start to develop an actual relationship, and we'll see that a little further on. Now, one thing Betty does have that Flash did not have is she has a Peter Parker. And we see here in the next panels that, yes, Betty will have the web shooters because Peter Parker is building them for her, while she is working on what will be a very scantily clad and uncharacteristic of Betty suit that she's going to wear. And she even says here, let's see, he calls her, first he calls her, he says, you can be Spider Lady. And she's
the
like,
amazing Spider Lady.
The amazing Spider Lady. So she's she's making her costume. She's like, Spider Lady, what do you think I am? Some kind of old lady? That's not going to be good for me at all. And I need something very younger sounding. And she said, maybe this costume will give me the chance to let loose a little bit. Something that always prim and proper Miss Bryant could never have the courage to do. So, Betty has always kind of been a more subtle, very covered up. I'm trying to think of the word to describe her. Modest. She's always been a very modest person. So in her mind, she's like, if I'm going to put this mask on and I'm going to put this costume on, nobody's going to know it's me. This will be my opportunity to kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and let it all hang out, basically, because that's exactly what she does here. She becomes absolutely the most scantily clad spider female ever. I mean, I'll show you the picture. So this is what we see here. She is got the very, very low cut top, all the way down to what seems to be her belly button, and she's got a lot of skin showing there. So, she has no cape, so she is not as flashy as Flash Thompson, but she does kind of.
If you look at that picture with the moon that you're holding up,
yeah,
she's got really hairy armpits, or
that's what I was gonna. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She's kind of got like that the webs between the arms, like the old Spider-Man costumes. So, kind of paying a little homage to the old Peter Parker Spider-Man suit there, and she deems Spider Lady is just. I'm not that old, so I'm gonna be the Amazing Spider Girl, and the Amazing Spider Girl is born. Now,
first appearance of a first Spider Woman, first Spider Lady. Would that be a first appearance of You know, it may not be the one that we're all used to, Spider
Right.
Woman, Spider Lady, but that would be considered the first appearance of a Spider Woman.
Right. And you're absolutely right. I mean, if we're talking just specific on paper in a comic book, this is it. Um, but like we also said, it really just depends on what your mindset is between canon and not canon, because some people believe some of these are canon, canon first appearances. Some people believe some of them aren't. It's just however you look at it, I guess. But yeah, this absolutely precedes the others, no doubt.
For sure. But I do like her outfit in this one. That's pretty one of the best Spider-Man outfits or Spider Lady outfits, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Let's see. We got a couple new people popped in the chat real quick. Mr. Comic Burrito, what is going on? We have the nasty one. Mr. Burke, what is going on, bro? We have Longbox in the house. What's going on, man? I hope he's got his. You got your cape. You better have your cape on, man. I hope you got the cape on.
Oh, that's Old Wolf. Old Wolf has the
Old
cape.
Wolf. That's right. That's right. That's right. My bad. I'm sorry. And then we have Barikan Comics. I'm really hoping that you're not calling me that, because I do not like that name at all. Nobody calls me that. Just kidding. But seriously. Chaos, I've acknowledged you all night long, dude. I just
He gave you so much props. I thought we were talking about Chaos instead of what if books.
You just can't make some people happy. I'm telling you, this is he is the Flash Thompson of our live chat tonight. So, oh, excuse me. Oh my gosh. Okay, so here we get into another difference with Betty. Even so, from Flash, where Flash relied on his brute strength and just kind of muscling everybody into his will, Betty is terrified of her strength and how strong she is. She absolutely wants to do anything she can to avoid having to use her super strength. After what happened in the restaurant, at this point, she's just like, I don't want to hurt anybody. Anything I can do to not hurt anybody. So that's where Peter told her, no problem. I can come up and with plenty of Spidey gimmicks to make you that you can use, so you won't have to worry about that. And so we see her taking out a guy here in, burglar here. She's using the flip. Did I use it right that time, guys? And Peter Parker's sitting here, he's getting his pictures because, they got to get paid. This is a power couple that you can't handle anymore, because now she's doing all the arm and she's doing the leg work, and he's doing the pictures, and they're making that money. And he's turning all these pictures in to J. Jonah Jameson at the Bugle, and the Bugle's throwing it up on the newspapers. And what do you think the newspapers say, guys? That's right. Classic Jameson. Who is this menacing Spider Girl? Because Jameson just hates on everybody that's doing the right thing. So that's kind of staying along the same storyline, where Jameson hates the heroes here, and that's just kind of the way these weave in and out of canon. And I love that, because you see the things that work and the things that stay the same, and then you go here and, oh well, no, that's different. And sometimes it's just a different person doing the same thing, and sometimes it's just nothing like what actually happened in the book.
Especially this one. This is a woman getting bit by a spider. This is a woman who's trying to develop her powers. This is the woman that, she doesn't quite want to be a hero like Peter Parker, but understands that she kind of has to be.
Right. Right. Absolutely. She kind of understands that Peter's talked her into the understanding, like, hey, with great power comes great responsibility. And he even tells her that. And that is the Spider-Man quote of all quotes right there. So that's the one thing that kind of roped her into understanding, like, okay, I have these abilities, and it would be selfish of me to not use them and just let them go to waste. So she agrees to, I'll be the hero or the heroine. So Peter knows who she is. No one else does, but they both still work for Jay. and they're both in here, and Jameson is just going off about this Spider Girl, and they're just kind of talking under their breath back and forth with these inside jokes and snickers and ha ha ha. He'd have a fit if he really knew who she was and that she was actually right here working for him.
Right.
And he tells him, he's like, I need more pictures. I need more Spider Girl. You guys need to go make it happen right now, Peter. Go right now. I need more Spider Girl. I can hear the voice from the old 90s cartoon. That's where I always go to for that voice, is this cartoon. So Peter's like,
I know the basics of Spider-Man, but I really didn't know Betty that much. I knew that she was JJ's secretary, and that was about basically all you ever hear about her,
Right.
So it was kind of nice to have a character that you don't know much about yet become or Spider-Woman,
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's just the little different things there that you will learn, even though this is not technically canon. They do throw some things in there that you'll pick up that actually do go with the actual canon stories. So here we kind of get into being able to tell that Peter and Betty have developed a romantic relationship, because Peter's like, all right, we'll go get the pictures. Just take it easy. So, it's like it's date night now. She dresses up in her scantily clad Spider Girl outfit, and they go hang out in an alley, and she's jumping all over the place and web slinging.
Alley dressed up,
Right. And so you can see, she's just jumping all over the place. She's web slinging all over. He's taking pictures. It's kind of creepy. It's a little creepy when you think about it.
Right.
And he's telling her, she's like, oh, did you see that? And he's, yeah, I got it, honey. So we kind of see here now they've developed a romantic relationship. It's become more than just a working relationship of him helping her along as her kind of her gadget guy. And all of a sudden, guy comes running out of the alley. Police officer yelling, "Hey, stop that guy! Stop that guy! He just stole all my payroll!" And she just, she's like, "Oh, I'm out of web fluid. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "You got to stop him." She's like, "I can't. I'm out of web fluid. I don't want to hurt anybody." And the police officer just kind of gets upset and is just like, "What's with you, sister? All you had to do was use that super strength of yours to hold him." And she said, "I'm sorry. I just couldn't." He said, "What's the matter with you, girlie? Was 1 2-bit hood a little too much for you?" And Peter kind of steps in and is like, "Hey, man, she just didn't want to hurt anybody. Okay. Like, chill out." And so at this point, we kind of see how afraid she really is to use her strength after the incident in the restaurant. And we're going to see where that comes back to play later on. Peter's just like, "Hey, you know what? Let's go jump you in a phone booth and get you changed." And
you say, "Let's go jump in." Okay.
Yeah, he says,
phone booth.
Right. He says,
slip into a phone booth into some place where we can get out of these costumes, then we can go to my house.
Right.
I don't know. I have too many people know what a phone booth is, but there isn't very much room in there.
Right. Aunt and uncle, my aunt and uncle are having roast beef tonight, so that's the rest of their night now. They're gonna go over to Aunt May and Uncle Ben's, eat a little roast beef, and have some dinner.
We just got done playing in an alley, so let's go to eat. Yeah, you need to change out of your costume. You can't come to my house in your costume.
Right. Aunt May probably be a little embarrassed if you showed up wearing that thing.
Right.
So they get to the house, and they come around the corner to the house, and they notice that the police are there. And so they kind of stop and like, "What's going on?" They walk up, and the police officer's like, "I got bad news, Peter. I'm sorry. It's your Uncle Ben. He's been shot and murdered by a burglar." And of course, Peter just gets frantic and is like, "What's going on? I don't understand. Tell me what happened. Where is he at?" and the officer tells her, you know, he's stuck in an Acme warehouse and down on the waterfront, and you know, we're working on getting a hold of him. Well, Betty immediately is like, I know exactly where that is, and I've got to go do something about it. So she takes off, and she stopped by her house on the way to Peter's to fill up her web slingers. So she does have more web fluid now. And she takes off, and she finds the warehouse, and she makes her way into the warehouse. Now, the guy is
your typical Spider-Man.
right. Dude, it's been out for like 40, 50 years. Sorry.
What's that?
He said, spoiler alert, I haven't read AF-15 yet.
Well, get yourself a what if.
Right. So you see here the interaction between the police officers and the burglar. His whole plan is just to wait till it gets dark, slip off in the shadows, and get away. No problem. Everything's good. And here comes Spider-Girl. She just kind of drops in on him, and you know, he's got a gun. So she, of course, corners him, webs up his firearm hand, and is like, you know, let's just take care of this gun real quick. And then she throws a punch. But she does say in here that she kind of pulled the punch. That way, you know, it wouldn't be something that would harm even this lowly of a human being. So she gets to him, and she picks him up, and it's kind of like just in the canon where she looks in his face, and she's like, crap, I know you. I know this guy. This is the guy that I could have stopped in the alley, but I didn't. And because of that, because of me, Uncle Ben is dead. So she pretty much puts that all on her. And after that, she just basically does the old Spider-Man deal where, you know, she ties the guy up, leaves him hanging for the police, and she's out of there. And she's very, very upset. She comes to find Peter and let him know exactly what happened. She kind of spills the beans. This is all my fault. This is the burglar that I let go earlier, and he's the one that killed your uncle. And Peter's like, no, you can't put that all on you. It's not your fault. And she's just like, no, I'm done. Spider-Girl is dead. I'm not doing this anymore. She takes off the mask. She throws it in the trash can. She takes off her outfit, throws it in the trash can, and I'm not really sure how she carried a full woman's suit in that costume, but she throws it away and walks off in a green suit, coat, everything, high heels. So that was kind of funny when I noticed that. You know, she just I don't know, maybe Peter carries around a spare change of clothes for her at all times, but.
Might be, you know, hey, slip into this, more comfortable.
Right. She didn't even have to find a phone booth that time.
The spider suit hanging over the trash can, you know, that's a spider, or I mean, yeah, it's like a key one. I think it's Spider-Man 50 or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a nod to Spider-Man 50, first Kingpin, the Spider-Man No More.
Right.
So yeah, that's our second. We are 53 minutes in. We still have one more to get to. So thanks for hanging out, guys. We are wrapping this up. We've got one more to get into, and this one's kind of a short one. There's not as much meat on this one, but it is a good one. And then we get to the very, very end part, which is what you want to stick around for, because the findings that we get in the very end of this story is what makes this what if so good. Here, it is not going to be Peter Parker that gets bit. It's not going to be Betty that gets bit. It's going to be John Jameson, J. Jonah Jameson's son. And he is an astronaut. So of course they're there. This is something that he wanted to work on. And so he wanted to come and check it out. And of course his dad's like, oh, son, make sure, you know, we got to get up here and, you know, or take a look at this. So John gets up there. He's in the front. We all know what happens when you're in the front of this crowd, standing in front of this device. You're the one that gets bit by the spider.
Hey, you guys got radioactive thing going on? Put me up first, you know?
Right. So he gets bit by the spider, and Peter Parker is just like, oh man, like this dude just got bit by a spider. Hey, look, there's the spider. Let me just pick that up, put it in my little pocket, take that home with me. And that's pretty much the end of that. The next panel we get to, John is in the gym, and he is in the gym. He is all, I mean, this dude is wearing it out, and he's throwing this weight around like it's nothing. And they even say, they even say here, those weights must be that he's pressing must weigh a literal ton. And he says, maybe they do, friend, but to me, it's like lifting only a few pounds. And you know, so again, the first thing that he notices is his super strength, just like Flash, just like Betty. But then he kind of starts to notice other things he can do. And not only that, but his father walks in. And unlike Peter Parker, and unlike Betty, but much like Flash Thompson, hey, look what I can do. I can do this, and I can jump over here on this wall, and I can jump over here, and I can stick to the ceiling. Isn't this great, Dad? And it's funny because we know JJ has always been a hater of Spider-Man. He's always been a hater of these superheroes. Well, not this time, because oh my gosh, look at what you're doing. This is great, son. I'm so proud of you. We got to put this in the Bugle. You're going to be famous. We got to get you a name. You're going to be a hero. And he's like, no, Dad, I thought I could, maybe use this for the space program. And he's like, oh, you don't want to waste that on no rubbish space program. You think of all the good you can do and how famous you can be by being a superhero. You're going to be all over the Bugle. You're going to make me a ton of money. So he's like, don't let me down, son. And that's something that you'll see will come up again. JJ is like pushing his son at this point to, I know you want to do this, but no. Like, let's go over here and do this, because that's going to make you famous. It's going to make me rich. And it's going to be great for everybody, right? Don't let me down, boy. And, as a son, you never want to let your father down. You always want to make daddy proud. So he absolutely does. And I would argue he may have had a chance to make daddy proud until he put on this ridiculous suit. This is the most ridiculous. We've seen all kind of alternate costumes for different heroes throughout all these What If series. This one here takes the cake. Not just
in the 3 that we've seen already, too.
Oh
just
my gosh. His name and his suit. Look at this, guys. I present to you guys Spider Jameson. Look at that. Would you just look at that? He's got it's a space suit. He's got Captain America boots on. All right, and he's got like an astronaut's helmet going.
With sunglasses.
I mean, it is just this is terrible. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen. I mean, that is just so funny. And we had Captain Spider. We had Spider Girl. Now we have Spider Jameson. I will take Captain Spider all day long.
Spider Girl.
Oh man. So, at this point, Spider Jameson is, he's running around and, saving people and doing good here and there. And Jameson's just sitting back there puffing that cigar, making sure these Daily Bugle headlines read how great he is. And, just raking in the cash, man. He's just raking that cash in. And Will Martins, what's up, man? What is going on? Hey, man, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. So yeah, Jameson is now, instead of being out there trying to trash and tarnish the name of Spider-Man, he is relishing in the fact that Spider-Man is his son, and he just looks at him as a cash cow. And, he says, yep, that's my boy. All right.
Yeah.
And so Spider-Man's identity is not hidden here. Everybody knows who Spider Jameson is, who his real identity is. Of course, his name is freaking Spider Jameson. So he's not hiding his identity for any reason at all. And, JJ has changed in this one as well. So those are some changes we're seeing right here. Next, we see Peter Parker enters back into the story, and he's looking for a gig. He needs a job. And Jameson's like, hey, man, look, You know how many people run around here with cameras trying to get a job here? Dude, I got the whole city coming here every single day. You bring me some pictures that are worth a crap, and I'll give you a job. Until then, you just need to get out of my office. And then we hear the news talk about this space shuttle that, or excuse me, a space capsule that's kind of gone haywire. And JJ's like, you know, Spider Jameson, you got to get on this. And he looks around, Parker, you. He doesn't call him Parker. He calls Peter Parker about 8 different names in this storyline here, except Parker. But you know, the guy he just tossed out of the office, he's like grabbing him. You, hey, get your camera. You go take pictures of Jameson. Make sure you get the good ones. You bring them back here, and you'll have a job. And Jameson takes off in a jetpack paid for by the Daily Bugle. So this dude is a commercial superhero at this point, sponsored by his father's newspaper, his newspaper. You know, the whole thing he owned, the Daily Bugle. I mean, it's amazing that he doesn't have a big Daily Bugle stamp right there on the front of his mask or something, you know.
Right across his chest, Daily Bugle.
Spider Jameson, brought to you by the Daily Bugle.
Please read the Daily Bugle. You want more Spider Jameson? Read the Daily Bugle.
Right. You know, Jameson's out early in the morning, 5 o'clock with his jetpack dropping off newspapers. You know, he's the paper boy. So Jameson tells him, you know, hey, man, you need to get out there. You can go stop that. You can go save the, you know, that guy inside of there, man. Go take care of it, son. Make me proud. Don't let me down. And so Jameson is kind of looking at it like, I've never taken on anything this big before. I've never handled something to this extent. This is a little out of my league here, but I'm going to give it a try because, hey, you know what? I don't want to let my dad down. So he goes up there and he's kind of looking at it and trying to figure out what's going on. He grabs a hold of it and he's like, you know, if I can use my jetpack and turn this thing around a little bit, I can kind of use my jetpack to push this thing back towards the earth. And he's able to do that. And the next thing he says, once he finds out that it's happening, is Geronimo, it's working. So so now Spider Jameson and this space capsule are flying back towards the ground. And what happens next? Gee, I wonder.
He runs out of fuel.
Catastrophe strikes, and this guy runs out of freaking fuel. I mean, did you not stop to check? Maybe, oh, that's right. Your daddy rushed you out of the freaking building before you could even have a chance to fuel up after you got done running the paper route this morning.
Well, he must have used up his limit for his fuel for that month quota, you know.
So yeah, the again, he's a little bit more prepared for flight and being in the air and than Flash was, but at the same time, he doesn't have those fancy web slingers to help him out here. So once he runs out of fuel, guess where he's going? Phew, straight to the ground. And Jameson and Peter Parker, they're in the car. They're running around trying to find where he's at so that Jameson can make sure Peter gets the pictures. And Peter's like, oh, over there, look, there's a big explosion. He's like, what do you think? I'm blind? Parker, let's go. Get over there. They get over there, and JJ notices that his son is pinned under this space capsule. And he rushes over, and, John's like, hey, Dad, I had enough strength to survive the fall for just a little bit. I don't have much time left, though. I know that. I was able to save the person piloting the capsule, though. And the last thing he says is, got to know one thing, Dad. Did I make you proud of me? Well, if that ain't just a kick right in the guts to JJ. Yeah, JJ, you pushed your kid throughout this whole storyline to go and do this and be a hero and make me look good and make me proud and make my newspaper, the biggest thing out here. And I'm raking in all this cash. And the guy pushed his kid to his death. JJ literally pushed his kid to the point where, he pushed past his limits. And at this point, again, Spider-Man is dead, and just kind of just like how Flash Thompson died, It wasn't the Vulture this time, but not being prepared for being that high up and a fall that far, he's done. So we have a dead Spider-Man here. And that was kind of sad though.
Well, and I thought too, I kind of remember the cartoons. Then Spider-Man save Jameson, and he ended up touching the Venom thing or something in the cartoons. I think was it he the space astronaut who drove the spaceship with Venom symbiote in it?
Maybe I'm not real sure. If you guys know in the chat, feel free to let us know there. It's been so long since I've watched that cartoon. I have Disney Plus for my kid, but I haven't had time to even try to watch any of that stuff. I don't even know how well it would hold up now, but
well, like you said, it's the same thing. He pushed his kid to that limit instead of beating his kid. Hey, we could do other things besides, make you a superhero and let's make money for the paper. Make money for the paper.
Right. And that's the biggest thing is like he was so worried about making that money and building his paper up that he wasn't thinking about the danger he's putting his kid in. And that's hard. That's tough, man. That's tough, coming from a dad, like to have that laying on you, to know that that's pretty much your fault, dude. That's on you. That's a tough one to swallow.
He had the spaceman helmet on, so he protected his head at least on the fall.
Yeah. So we're getting close to the end, guys. Hang around, stick around for a few minutes because we're getting to the good part here. We haven't gotten to it yet. So for the 6 or 7 of you guys still watching, you're going to get to the good part. The next thing we see is JJ has decided to build a statue in memory of Spider Jameson, his son. And of course, it is accurate. We have the humongous astronaut helmet there and everything. So big bronze statue. And he's vowed to use the Daily Bugle to shine light on all other superheroes. Let's see, it says, basically he says, even their freaky abilities, will still shine light on them and let people know that, they're good people and they're trying to do good. So completely uncharacteristic of the JJ we know. Now, we flip that page over and we see something here. Obviously, we get the Watcher again. And we see something here that if you paid attention while you were either reading this or while we've talked about it, there's one consistent thing through every one of these stories that happened. After every single person got bit, after Flash got bit, after Betty got bit, and after John got bit, what happened? Peter Parker just moseys over there and picks up that little spider and puts it in his pocket. Why was he doing that? Well, he was doing that so he could take it home and experiment with it in his laboratory in his room. What is he able to do there? Well, he's able to come up with a potion that he's hoping will kind of help him be able to retrieve the same powers that the other people did that got bit by the spider. And what happens? That's right, guys. We get your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And what the Watcher says about this here is, it says, you see then, it was destiny's plan for Peter Parker to become the amazing Spider-Man. And it is my task to observe the Spider-Man on any of the worlds upon which he exists. So no matter who actually got bit, it was always going to be Peter Parker that ended up being the Spider-Man. So for all of you guys out there who are big Spider-Man fans, big Peter Parker fans, never fear, guys, because Peter Parker is always going to be the guy that is under that red and blue. Every single parallel universe, Spider-Man will always be Peter Parker.
Maybe if he didn't pick up the spider every time, if he just left it on the ground, would still be.
Yeah, I guess if there's a parallel universe where he didn't pick the spider up, but he did say it was destiny, so I don't know. We know in these stories he did anyway. So,
and that's what it says at the end too. All 3 stories continue up with Peter taking this spider and making a potion.
Yeah,
I'm not on the drinky part of it, but it is whatever. I've never heard of Spider-Man getting his powers that way.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. I was definitely surprised by that. I thought the story was over, and I almost didn't even flip the page, so I would have missed out on that. But that's one thing that we seems to be consistent with these stories. We always end up losing out on a humongous superhero or a big super team. Something always happens to where we are going to be missing out on a huge character or team of characters. And this is the first one where no matter which one we read, we're always going to end up having a Spider-Man. Even though the original 3 died, we still had a Spider-Man. So at least we know that happened.
Well, I wouldn't say the second one died. I wouldn't say
Well,
Betty
yeah.
She retired.
Yeah.
You know,
the hero Spider Girl is dead, but Betty is
right.
alive. You're right.
But he still made up the spider web and all the cartridges and stuff for her compared to the other guys where they were just like, hey, gravity's not my friend.
Right. Absolutely. So Cap, out of these 3, which story did you like the best?
I like Betty's story best. It gave that Uncle Ben story with it, you know, the more the Spider-Mans that we're all used to, her catching the villain that killed Uncle Ben, you know, and they had a little twist where I can't be a hero no more. I got, you know, would Peter Parker do the same thing? I got the bad guy. Now I'm over. I'm not a hero no more, you know.
Right. That
one I felt was more along the lines of the traditional Spider-Man, I guess.
Right. Where that great responsibility just became too much for her to bear.
Right.
Absolutely. I think if I was going to pick one, I would probably pick the Flash Thompson one just because I like the interaction with Crusher Hogan, and I love the interaction with the Vulture. Almost called him the Falcon. I'm looking at something up here with a Falcon on it. The Vulture, and the way that they turned the conversation and the narrative between the Spider-Man character in canon and the Vulture and in this story was just reversed, and it was the exact same wording and the exact same narrative. So I thought that was really, really cool the way they did that. So,
well, the Spider Jameson too, I didn't really care for that one because, you know, the other 2 had a villain in it. Like you said, the Vulture's in there, and then she fought the low life guy who killed Uncle Ben. Well, this one, the end one, he was killed by a space capsule.
Right.
You know, come on. Something, have the Rhino throw him across the room or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they were all pretty good. Even the last one, I mean, it kind of pulled on your heartstrings a little bit in some points. The character, the costume was absolutely horrible. You know,
it's out of the 3.
Absolutely. No doubt. But yeah, I definitely like this issue though. It was a good read. I felt like the storyline in all 3 was really easy to keep up with and follow along with. It didn't jump from here to there and get, you know, kind of hard to follow. So I thought that was very well written. The artwork wasn't as bad as we've seen in other issues. There was some really good stuff in here as well. But I like that there was a lot of comedy. There was a good bit of comedy in here, and some of the wording and some of the kind of nods to different things that kind of made me laugh. So it was a pretty good issue. I enjoyed this one.
I did too. I'd rank it almost a 7. 7 or out of a 10, you know.
Oh yeah. How appropriate. So absolutely, man. Well, all right. Well, that was a good one, man. I appreciate you hanging out. What do we got next week, Cap?
We have What If the World Knew Daredevil is Blind?
Okay, so we're gonna jump into a character. Thus far, every book we've read has been a character we've already seen. So we're finally gonna jump into a story with a character we have not seen yet in this series. So I'm excited about that. I'm not very knowledgeable on Daredevil too much. I don't read a lot of Daredevil. Sorry, Rod. I know that's your man, and that's your favorite. I know that he's got a great series going on right now, and I've been tempted to jump on it a couple times, but so I'm excited to read that for sure.
Yeah. Besides him being blind, that's about it. Throwing sticks, that's about it with Daredevil.
Yeah, he definitely seems like an interesting character. So maybe reading this, maybe it'll be something to spark our interest a little bit in that character.
All right, for sure. I hope so.
All right, guys. Well, thanks to everyone who has been hanging out all night long, and for everybody watching on the replay, we appreciate you guys as well. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you like what you're seeing, think about hitting the subscribe button and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss out on any of our content. You guys have a great week. Cap?
I'd like to say happy 4th of July to everybody, because we
Absolutely.
hope to see you until next week on Wednesday. What If Wednesday. Hope everybody has a good, safe 4th of July, and have a great night, everyone.
All right, guys. And as always, you guys know, collect your way.